Hello, it's Brad Laurie, or Blockchain Brad, and today I'm honored to speak with members of the Plasm Network. More specifically, we have the founder in the hot seat, and you can see him on the top, and his name is Sota Watanabe. Sota, thank you very much for making time to explain to us what you're doing at Plasm.
Yeah, thank you for having me today.
You're so welcome, mate. Arigatou gozaimasu. And also, I'd really like to welcome another person who is the project manager. His name is Hoon Kim. Hoon, thank you very much for making time also all the way from Korea.
Hello, thank you for having me.
And what an honor also to showcase the distributed and decentralized nature of any great initiative, any great project. While you can see here, we have several members of the team right around the world showcasing what Plasm can do. And here we have two members who are literally in different countries. So gentlemen, thank you so much. I'm very excited, as you can tell from the speed I'm talking, to speak with Plasm. But it's all about why. When people understand the magnitude of this, they will really get why this is a world first, why you are literally making history, as you tweeted recently as well, Sota. But let's start with the fundamentals, those key aspects that really make you unique and very important for what's coming to 21, 22, and even decades beyond. Now, you say you're making the Web3. So what does that mean when it comes to the word Plasm?
Yeah, so in case of Web3, so our mission is to make a Web3. The current web and the internet is centralized. So people do not own like a data. So all data is controlled by the centralized authority, like GAFA, Google, Facebook, Microsoft, and so on, like Amazon. But in the future, I think the people own and they control the data. And this is gonna be the basic right for the human. So we would like to make Web3 happen through Polkadot. And the Polkadot consists of relay chain and the parachain. And the relay chain, the heart of the Polkadot, does not support smart contract functionality by design.
Right.
So all the people in the Polkadot ecosystem need at least one parachain, which supports smart contract very well. And this is where Plasm Networks comes in. Probably I'm going to talk more about like a technical detail later.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and thank you for clarifying that. So just to help, because obviously Sota is Japanese and he, speaking in English, which is his second language. So I really appreciate that. Yep. I couldn't do it all in Japanese for you, that's for sure. And because of that, let's get to some things clear. Hoon, you might want to help us out and clarify this. Sure. So we have layer 0. We have that established Polkadot ecosystem with that foundational technology we know as Polkadot. And then we also have the issue of smart contracts. And as Sota said, there's a key aspect and a key hindrance to the whole system because of relay chains. Doesn't open up everything. And hence we have the parachain. So do you want to just touch on this in the sense of smart contracts, in the sense of what this really is about and trying to open up to all the potentials of layer 1s, layer 2s, and everything between?
Well, okay, so blockchain actually provides value when people are able to interact with it. And the best way to interact with it, besides just sending transaction, is to actually provide a structured business logic to those transactions. And Polkadot, as Sota mentioned, the Polkadot network itself does not have smart contract because it has to keep itself light. Implementing a smart contract engine is quite heavy, and that is why we are focusing solely on providing the best smart contract experience to the developers and the users. And layer 2 comes in here to provide scalability to smart contracts. For example, in Ethereum, especially if Uniswap is a good example, where because so many people are using it, the gas cost is just so high, and trying to hold a full node is just it's not reasonable anymore. It's just too heavy, too costly. So to alleviate that, there is a thing called a layer 2 scalability protocols, which allows you to delegate a lot of transactions into a separate quote unquote trial chains or layer 2 nodes, which basically bypasses all those block validation processes and only submits the end result of that transaction back to the root chain. Or as you said, you have layer 0, although I believe the technical term is layer 1 chains. And
Well, can I just jump in and clarify that, because we do see some of the advocates from Parity, they try to almost nuance a layer 0. That's why I wanted to ask you to clarify this, because layer 1s are really important. We see Ethereum, and you guys are redressing some of the challenges of that layer 1, specifically with smart contracts. So can you clarify what Polkadot would be in that numerical system of 0, 1, 2?
And I guess Polkadot would be, I guess, in a technical sense, would be layer 0, because they're the one who actually connects all those different nodes with their relay chains. Our child nodes, layer 2 chains, and will only communicate with our Plasm node, which is layer 1. And those child chains will be able to communicate with other blockchains within the Polkadot ecosystem, i.e. parachains, through the relay chain. So you could say Polkadot is layer 0 in that sense, because they are the one who sort of connects everything together. While the actual chain, the transactions are recorded within Polkadot's, not Polkadot, Plasm layer 1 node.
Right. Well, Sota, this must be exciting, because when you would have explored what Polkadot was building, or what Parity was building as well in the substrate, surely very quickly you saw some of the hindrances, the problems we're talking about right now. Quite literally inside Polkadot, there were some problems for expansion, for interoperability itself. So when we hear the word interoperability, yes, it's true, that's the mantra of Polkadot, but really it's even more so with you, because you're building in the tech to make this happen. So do you want to talk about that, and how the parachain relates to this, and also more importantly, the scalability aspect of this for Plasm?
Yeah, Polkadot do have like a sharding architecture. So in terms of scalability, Polkadot itself is a scalability solution. But when we talk about scalability, like a TPS, transaction per second, is just a single point of like a scalability. So when we say like scalability, we are thinking about TPS in the cheaper gas, and also faster finality. So cheaper gas and faster finality is much more important than TPS. That's why layer 2 solution is necessary. And also another reason why we are implementing layer 2 is the compatibility. Like a lot of projects try to use like a ZK rollup or optimistic rollup on Ethereum. And probably potentially they will migrate from Ethereum to Polkadot. And we have a EVM, Ethereum Virtual Machine, and we have a ZK rollup. So they can migrate ZK rollup contract from Ethereum to Polkadot without, huge changes. So that's why we are implementing ZK rollup right now.
Got it. So guys, can I ask this forward question? Should Ethereum be scared? Because you send the message of not of competition, of cooperation, of collaboration. Gavin was a contributor to Ethereum, very, the integral design, wrote Solidity itself. So should they be concerned because of the bottlenecks, because of the technological challenges that they're facing right now, 2021, when they compare to what you guys are actually doing? And I'm not trying to suggest we should be tribalistic. I'm just purely talking technologically here.
Yeah. What do you think about Hoon?
Well, in a technological sense, I guess a little bit. But the thing is, we're creating a bridge between Polkadot, or just Plasm to be specific, and Ethereum. So Ethereum transactions within Ethereum can be read through within Plasm Network, and you can send cross-chain messages across between Plasm Network and Ethereum. So for existing people, no real reason to be afraid of it. In fact, they actually have additional tools to sort of make their transactions much more faster, to save gas costs, and open up to much more possibilities that we can't even imagine.
So could that actually be a boon for Ethereum, Hoon, in that sense? Could it actually open up more of what Ethereum can do, given that you're a key bridge and you're literally also offering, I guess, more iterations beyond what they've done? So what do you think will happen? Let's talk about this pragmatically. If you're a dev, wouldn't you want to be moving and bridging across and staying though?
Well, the thing is, Ethereum has very rich history. They have a lot of people, they have a lot of assets already in there. While Plasm Network compared to Ethereum is very immature. It's just still in a baby stage. So a lot of people will be wanting to keep their assets and use their assets within Ethereum, but still leverage the technology that Plasm Network offers. So in that sense, Ethereum would most likely stay there, and it would be it would be sort of like what Bitcoin is right now to a lot of blockchains.
I see.
Yeah. The source of value.
It must be interesting for you, Sota, as the founder, or a lot of the different startups must be talking to you right now how to leverage the new technology. They must be all trying to see how they can capitalize. Now, you made history recently, and when you touched on this just then, so nice plug. Let's just bring that into the fore right now. You literally made history. So do you want to talk about that messaging, what that does, how that cross-chain element really can change the game?
Well, we have been working on Plasm Network for more than 2 years, and we made a lot of histories right now. And we became the first Polkadot testnet Parachain, and we have deployed the first smart contract on the top of Polkadot Parachain. And also recently, actually yesterday, we have successfully completed cross-chain messaging passing transaction on Polkadot testnet with Akala. So interoperability was like a buzzword, but it became reality yesterday. So it was a huge step, and we are sure that we are making the history of Web3.
And that's super exciting. Yeah. And congratulations. We can't really overstate this. It's such a big deal. It means so much. So what are your thoughts, gentlemen, when you hear maximalists of any camp say, oh, it's never going to happen, it's just a buzzword? You know, now that you've done the first step, you've made history here. What are your thoughts on that maximalist narrative that does resonate sometimes from that tribalistic bag-centered camp, you know, that think about more about what they hold rather than what's really important, and that's development?
Yep.
Well, as much as those maximalists wants to stay within their own circle, in reality, they were always interacting with other blockchains, regardless of if they were aware or not.
Exactly.
So,
yeah. From my perspective, the more the option, there are more option developer has, better for the community, better for the blockchain ecosystem. Yeah, that's why we have a smart contract functionality. Other projects have a functionality. Ethereum do have the functionality, but we are still early stage, so we cannot predict the future, but we're gonna do our best to provide that smart contract functionality for our user and to make a bridge between Ethereum and the Polkadot through Plasm, or making a Binance Smart Chain in the Polkadot Plasm.
Yeah, and I thought that would happen because obviously we're going to talk about the backers as well, and BSC is interconnected indirectly through the Binance Labs support. Yep. So I do want to touch on that. And also, guys, because you're in Asia, it makes sense to also open up the conversation, I would think, geographically, and enable the tinkering of the blockchain to be global, truly. We shouldn't be stifling it with different regions around the world. So it's exciting to see you're opening up the conversation, making this possible in different camps right across the layer one landscape. And we'll talk about also those layer ones and how they can be bridged as well later. But I want to bring it back to the conversation about things like faster, cheaper. We talked about interoperability as well, but you literally could change the game in terms of just average to everyday user as well by making this easier and more seamless for me if I want to interact with Plasm. So do you want to touch on that in terms of the design? How have you managed to do this technologically with the tech stack? How is it that you have managed to tinker and play and learn from the smart contract system that Vitalik and the others built to make this this way, to claim that it is faster, cheaper, better?
Yeah, I think in terms of a technical development, the Hoon can be a best person to answer. But in terms of a vision, so probably I'm the best person to answer.
Okay.
And our mission is to make a DAO. So which means, so Plasm Network is led by Stake Technologies, which is like a private company in Japan and Singapore. So our mission is to make a decentralized autonomous organization. So Stake Technologies will be, closed in 2 years because this is gonna be a single point of failure. And that's why we distributed a lot of token to user actually before venture capital. And after that, we are going to make on-chain governance. And I hope I can be one of the open source contributor. And a lot of developer agree on our vision and our future. That's why they joined the team and they are building Plasm Network right now. And in terms of a organization or technical development, probably Hoon can answer it.
Well,
answer
before
the
you, and I definitely want to hear from him, so if you could just hold that thought for a moment, because Sota, I wanted to elaborate on one tweet you made recently, and that was that you were really proud of the high percentage of tokens that were allocated in the model to the community. And you were making that point that you were trying to push for that fair launch objective and vision. Even though fair launch is a very nebulous term, you definitely did things that were progressive at the time you designed that, because a lot of people weren't talking about fair launch when you did that.
Yeah. Yeah, let me talk about more about that. Like a community makes value in terms of public blockchain. So since we are building public blockchains, it should be transparent. It should be permissionless. It should be fair for everyone. Yeah, that's why we distributed our token to users through lock drop first. And then we raised money from VC without discount. And then we are going to have another lock drop, and we are going to distribute 65% for the community. And a lot of project does not take this way. You know, the project, generally speaking, project raise money from VC first with huge discount for selected VC, and then distribute token to community, right?
Right.
Because this is the easiest way, and they can make money by doing so. But this is not our philosophy. We believe community makes value, and our vision is to make DAO, decentralized autonomous organization led by community. So that's why we distributed tokens through lock drop, and we raised the fund from VC after the lock drops. In the long run, I think it makes difference. Our strategy makes difference. So this is our philosophy, and we would like to, keep this philosophy.
And you're doing it. You're not just talking it. And honestly, it is the best year you could be saying this, because people have had enough, I think, of a lot of that early capital focus on, quick exit sometimes from some of those who are capitals, not VCs, a big difference. And so again, a lot of the community wanted to participate, and thank you so much also for those lock drop approaches, because I remember watching your educational pieces as those lock drops were happening last year. You provided clear opportunities for people, just like the original cypherpunk movement of Bitcoin. If you really wanted to pay attention to study, you could do it. And I didn't do them, but I was definitely there all the way, even commenting as you were doing it, paying attention, because I thought, you have to with this one, because it's tech-based. You need to be savvy, you need to be educated and be dev. So let's move across to you, Hoon. Congratulations again, Sota. It's really exciting. I love the idea of this fair launching, involving more of the community. But let's go back to the tech stack when we talk about what sets it apart, because you've got to have the components in the engine of the smart contract platform that fire, and people have to understand, is this, is it lip service or is it real? So how would you explain it in a nutshell, what sets you apart technologically from Ethereum in the design to make it faster, smarter, better?
All right, I'll try to not use too many jargons, because it is quite a lot, actually, when it comes to the layer 2 scalability. Okay, so our smart contract, the smart contract engine, we have two major engines. One is the Substrate's native Inc. smart contract, which is a WASM or WebAssembly based smart contract engine. Because it's WebAssembly, it runs natively, and it is much more efficient than what the traditional EVM offers, as it has less overhead to the blockchain.
Okay.
And that's one. And recently, I say recently, but it's like, I think half a year ago or so, we've added EVM module as well, which was also in development with Parity Technologies as part of their Frontier suite. It's like a compatibility layer between Ethereum and Substrate framework-based blockchains.
Mm-hmm.
And by leveraging that, we were able to allow Solidity smart contract executions. And before that, we did have a transpiler for Solidity contract that allows Solidity contracts to be compiled or transpiled back into WASM contracts, so it could be executed. And that is the basis of our smart contract execution engines. And on top of that, we have layer 2 protocols, which we also have like two major layer 2 protocols that allows us to achieve this scalability. One is optimistic rollups, which is abstracted by the OVM, optimistic virtual machine. What it does is it's like a security layer for layer 2 fund withdrawing system, because in layer 2, it's sort of like a separate blockchain that requires a history from the parent chain, since you cannot send funds that you do not have, and OVM sort of like abstracts that, so it makes implementation much easier, and it unifies a lot of the layer 2 protocols, such as like payment channels, Plasma, and Optimus Rollups as well. There's a lot of protocols you could use, and alongside that, recently we have implemented ZK Rollup, which is set for zero knowledge rollup. It uses ZK hashing algorithm to check, have a deterministic check of funds between layer 1 and layer 2.
Yeah, and also we got a lot of grants from the Web3 Foundation, actually 6 grants, and we have already delivered around 4 grants. And we have already delivered the milestone 1 of ZK Rollup. So actually we are building that right now.
Like tech stack, we're getting like a grant per stack.
Yeah, and it's 100% open source, so everyone can see our GitHub and everyone can see our progress.
And that's really exciting, because when you think about this, there's been a lot of work done for the layer 2 scaling with the work from Ethereum, for example, the ZK rollups with the optimism itself. But there's also companies or startups like Scale, like Matic, for example. But often, they're trying to build on the ecosystem and the technology of Ethereum. But in your instance, it seems like you're embedded this. You haven't got like tokenized models for scaling on top of it, but it's all intertwined into Plasm's network. So do you want to talk a bit more about how you differentiate in that sense? How, there's not external companies building on as a layer 2 on top of the layer 1, but it's all intertwined and connected.
Because we are using a substrate framework as the base blockchain, which is already developed by Parity, or provided by Parity Technologies, we were able to focus on developing the modules that is directly embedded within the blockchain. So yes, that's because the groundwork is already done, and furthermore, like our layer 2 protocols are already like something that was done on Ethereum, but we are re-implementing that in Rust, and we are sort of making that, as I said, like just part of the blockchain itself, rather than just connecting them through various smart contracts.
I see.
It's much more efficient.
And you have. Sorry,
we are not just copying. We are not just copying Ethereum's scaling solution on Polkadot. So we actually implementing that.
Re-implementing it.
Re-implementing, and also perhaps at a bigger scale, no pun intended. So let's talk about that one. So you've got the OVM, you've got the WASM system, you've got also the EVM, and now even Akala's tinkering with that, as I understand, helping that compatibility. You certainly have been. So my thinking is you're not even just Polkadot, and I'll explain what I mean. So everything's built around and inside the core technology, but it should be applicable based on this fact that you do have these like technological bases to be interoperable with Cosmos, for example, with other player 1s because of that WASM compatibility and even the EVM.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like EVM is like not our differentiator because it's like a common. So Akala is implementing EVM, Moonbeam is implementing EVM, and some of the other chain like Nia or like Cosmos are implementing EVM. The big difference between other blockchain and Plasm Network is DApps staking. So PLM token holder can stake their PLM token, not only network, it's just like a staking, but also DApps, decentralized application itself. So by doing so, the nominator as well as DApps creator can get basic income from block rewards. So to make the long story short, DApps developer can make money by developing DApps on the top of Plasm Network. This is a huge difference. Like in terms of Ethereum, they have to pay gas, and the gas is not cheap, right?
Right.
So by developing DApps on the top of Ethereum, technically they are paying cost. Okay. But yeah, if you are building DApps on the top of Plasm Network, you can earn PLM token, even though you have to pay gas. on PLM token.
Well, let's talk about
revenue
Hoon.
is going to be much more than gas.
Hoon, this is a big deal. Can you explain this a little bit more? Because I really want to make sure what sort of saying is clarified, just because that is a real sort of standout feature for the value proposition of all of the Plasm Network. Because one of the things is we're finding right now the gas is so expensive because of the transaction fees for Ethereum for devs. So devs are going to be rewarded, for their tinkering with DApps. Why wouldn't they stay, play, and let Plasm grow even bigger? Because when we're rewarded, we stay. We don't leave.
Yes, that's a great question. And our goal as a blockchain is to become a smart contract hub. Right now, it's not limited to Polkadot network, but we are using Polkadot's shared security to sort of alleviate our risk for implementing our own security solutions. And I said, yes, if we incentivize the DApp developers, they would most likely want to stay there and sort of grow Plasm Network. But we believe that blockchain's true value comes from interoperability and when you're able to communicate with each other. So even if our value is really big, it wouldn't be much of a point if they're not communicating with other blockchains. If people will just want to stay in our network, it sort of ruins the purpose of interoperability. So that is why we are trying to collaborate with all these various parachains and also create bridges, a lot of bridges with other blockchains, so that people will want to use other services to sort of expand what they can do.
And that's where the Web3 comes in, wouldn't you say? We see the pictures of almost like neural networks lighting up, but that's really how I see Plasm, is literally lighting up a lot of different blockchains, a lot of different dApps, a lot of different devs. I mean, you're literally so much more than even the complexity of building in and creating the integrity, allowing the integrity of Polkadot and even Parity and certainly Kusama to light up, and others we're going to talk about. But I also wanted to ask you, do you see yourselves situated differently to even the commonplace scenario right now, where there's a lot of VCs in San Francisco, for example, and certainly very regionally focused, I've noticed in some of the emerging startups that exist on Ethereum, you seem to be going the other way, going, you know what, there is another solution to this, and this is allowing for more of a community-driven approach where the value is the devs, the value is the creators. Do you see what I'm getting at? Because it still seems like sometimes that closed arena, that closed investment circles do exist in certain parts of the world. Are you breaking this open?
Pretty much, yes. But I guess to put it simply, we're not really in it for the money. We're just doing it because programming is fun. We want to share that fun with everyone else. We don't want those pesky contract works to sort of get in our way. And if we sort of close our network, it's going to be pretty hard, especially when it comes to money, like investment and capital injection. If we limit ourselves to a certain region, it will limit our creativity, and it will definitely limit our reach as well.
And I really appreciate that too.
We're gonna do our best to attract a lot of users from like US, China, all over the world.
And Sota, I really appreciate that, because before the interview, we were talking about how we are not in certain regions like that key hub of the Bay Area of San Fran, where, that's one of the key centers for innovation, but there's so many others, and eventually we want to bridge all of those innovation hubs so that we can uplift the integrity of the devs and the work they do and reward them. They don't often always get the best rewards. Sometimes it's the entrepreneurs. So thank you so much for addressing some of those things. Now let's go back a little bit to, again, the idea of scalability, because that's integral. But then there's this idea of vertical scalability. So what does that mean in the context of DApps especially, and what's built on beyond?
So vertical scalability basically refers to how the layer one or the parent root chain is scaled. Sharding is a very good example, because sharding is essentially splitting the main blockchain into multiple nodes, like with their own history, and then validators will only sort of focus on a single shard. Although with Ethereum 2.0, I believe they actually sort of randomly switch those shards so that not a single validator would take over a shard. That is essentially vertical scalability. For DApps developers, it won't be too different. In fact, actually, they will not. They won't feel any difference other than that it is fast. Well, the transaction is really fast, and It's lighter to download and host an entire node, even though DApp developers wouldn't really do that. Well, layer 2, horizontal scalability, or sorry, that is vertical. Horizontal is sharding. I messed that up there. Vertical scalability, layer 2, will require DApp developers to interact with a certain smart contract so that they can, when they withdraw funds from a certain node, they'll be able to safely validate that the funds are in fact valid when the state transition was happening in a unvalidated environment on layer 2.
So in terms of user experience, what I'm getting at there is the differentiation to the horizontal, which we've talked about, at length in years gone by. But for the user, this should also add to the reason why it should be seamless, and they won't need to know about that vertical scaling, but it should add to the better user experience.
Oh yes, definitely.
Let me talk about a little bit. If I understand correctly, Parachain, the horizontal scalability have to be a blockchain, or they have to use Substrate at this moment. But in terms of vertical scalability, they can deploy smart contract on the top of Plasm Network. The vertical scalability does not need to be like a blockchain specific. So it can be like a single smart contract. Then we can make vertical scalability. So this is much easier for a lot of developer.
That's awesome. Now, one of the things I wanted to ask you, Sota, is that parachains are an innovation in and of themselves. We know this from the things that are happening now. We know with the auctions that are coming. We know because everyone's vying for trying to win those auctions as well. But I wanted to ask you, when we think about the costs of the parachain, and when I've talked to different devs, even at Parity, one of the things they've said is think about one being the gold standard, the relay chain, and even the whole Polkadot ecosystem and the parachains. And then you look at the canary networks as more of that. I won't say testnet alone because it's so much more, as you know. These are environments that are crucial to devs. But when it comes to cost, what are your thoughts on that? Because you have runway, you have support, you have an ecosystem. But is it tough to work in the parachain environment if there's significant cost to have one?
So you mean the cost to acquire parachain slot?
Yes. Yeah. The barriers to entry, are there any there? Because
to be honest, I don't know how much data will be needed to be a Polkadot Parachain, but I think slot will be limited, probably 4 or 5 parachain at this moment, and the parachain slot will be bid one by one. So in this case, the first parachain auction will be really expensive, I think. But I cannot estimate the cost.
I think it'll be millions.
Yeah. Even like a Web3 Foundation and the Parity Technologies cannot estimate neither, I think.
Okay. Well, my apologies, I did. What about you? What do you think, Hoon? Because obviously we all support the distribution of these technologies, but it's going to be tough initially.
Yes, well, I think the point of a parachain auction is to ensure that no one knows how much it should cost, because it's it's a candle auction, but it's about the community. How many community members are willing to support back this parachain, or how active this parachain or the blockchain network is willing to spend to acquire this slot, and because no one can estimate, it's pretty hard.
Yeah, and also we prepare 35%, 30% up to 35% for parachain auction. By locking dots for us, they can get PLM.
I did see that, so I immediately thought, well, you guys are prepared. You have come ready to go. So are you feeling confident that as you move out, that everything's going to unfold as you planned, making sure that you can optimize utilizing the parachain?
Yep, we have a confidence in I think we can be one of the first Polkadot Parachain if everything goes well, since we have a huge incentive compared to others. And also we have a tracking records. Like we became the first parachain on Rococo and the first cross-chain messaging passing with Akara. Yeah, and so on. So we're gonna do our best.
Yes, and I think like you said, I think that it's all of the stars are aligning for you. I'm very confident also. And even Gavin, I've noticed him tweeting about you different times. So he's clearly supporting you as well, which means something, because he's also made the bet with Parity, built out so much with a lot of the whole Polkadot ecosystem as well with the team.
Yeah, and also, sorry for that. Sorry for the interruption.
No, please go on,
Binance,
of course.
and some of the exchanges join our private round. So they also have an incentive to support our Parachain lease offering. Since that I guess Binance is a big dot holder, the biggest dot holder in the ecosystem, I think.
Well, let's talk about that because they have their BSC, their Binance Smart Chain. So Hoon, you can jump in if you'd like to on this, because there's a lot of speculation, there's a lot of trepidation, and there's also a lot of, I guess, unsubstantiated tribalistic commentary that happens as well. And I want to clarify this with you guys as technical people. Now, some people say Binance Smart Chain, isn't really ready compared to some others, but you often get that from media camps who are very biased, and you do the analysis and you can prove it. So what are your thoughts on this, guys? Because we know that this whole Euro-Asia zone is just as valid as anywhere else.
Yep, definitely. Well, I don't know. I feel like people are overcomplicating things, especially with people trying to stay on, maintaining status quo. People who are just, I don't want to say they're afraid of change or anything, but the opportunity cost of trying to understand how interoperable blockchain works versus trying to just staying within your own circle might be too big for some people.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk about Binance Chain then, the Binance Smart Chain, because that hasn't been around for that long, certainly not as long as Ethereum or the likes of others. And they're also doing some things that are technologically advanced, and they moved very quickly with their team. So have you done analysis in that BSC? Have you looked at the quality of that code, for example? Because I'm guessing that you're going to facilitate and help them as well.
We don't have a time to check the Binance Smart Chain, the quality. But the important thing is a lot of users are using Binance Smart Chain, and there is a networking effect on the top of Binance Smart Chain. So all we have to do is to make the bridge between Binance Smart Chain and the Polkadot through Plasm Network. So this is what we would like to do.
And how difficult is it, guys, to do that? Because how long did it take? Obviously, it took you a while to do the bridging technology and all the other exciting innovations you've done so far. But is it going to take for Cosmos, for Binance Smart Chain, for Algorand, for Near?
Got it. Yeah, if I understand correctly, Binance Smart Chain is a fork of Ethereum. So we are working on Ethereum bridge, and it will be ready in coming weeks. MVP, the minimum viable product, will be ready in coming weeks. So I think we can use that architecture on Binance Smart Chain as well. So
Sota,
it should be
Sota, come on, Sota. I think you know more. Come on. I think that there's discussions going on with Binance Labs where you're aware, that this is more than just possible, but it's probably going to be coming up pretty soon.
Yes, it's definitely possible, but I'm not sure if we would. It's good to discuss that here in detail.
Yeah, I appreciate that, guys. People know my style. I like to dig, but thank you for that, Hoon.
I appreciate that.
Now, the team. I want to ask about that for transparency. Incredible engineering team, incredible coding team as well. Very, very decentralized around the world. Do you want to comment on how the team's grown? What's the main focus of the team when it comes to Plasm?
Yeah, our first priority is always becoming one of the first Polkadot Parachain. So to do so, we would like to become one of the first Kusama Parachain as well. So we have to prepare for the Kusama Parachain auction, and we would like to attract a lot of attention and a lot of DApps from all over the world. So we are focusing on Kusama Parachain auction as well as Plasm Network portal, and which will be delivered very soon. And the PLM token holder can manage token on our portal, and they can deploy DApps through that portal. So project will be listed on our web page.
Oh,
the
awesome.
Smart contract will be listed on our web page.
Well, do you want to talk a bit more about Kusama? I'd love to hear this from you because, again, it never hurts to clarify what exactly is that key asset beyond being that Canary network itself. And also, can we extend a little bit more on their Canary network as well with Sheldon as well? Because I don't think people realize just how robust the Canary networks have become.
Yeah, so Polkadot is like a beta version right now. No parachain are connected. So to connect our blockchain, Plasm Network to Polkadot, as one of the first Polkadot parachain, we have to connect our blockchain to Kusama first. And we have to test the cross-chain messaging passing with other parachain and share the security before connecting our blockchain to Polkadot. And in terms of Kusama parachain and Shide network, a Shide network is a canary network or Plasm network, and the PLM token holder can get exactly the same amount of Shide network token. So because we are like a community-driven project. And from my perspective, the development of Rococo, which is like similar to Kusama, is very well right now. And we have already finished the cross-chain messaging passing. So Kusama parachain auction will be coming soon. And then we would like to make like a DEX or make DeFi use cases, also gaming use case on Kusama first, so that they can migrate from Kusama parachain to Polkadot parachain easily.
Right. So does that mean you'll see an influx in DApps, for example, and experimentation on Kusama first, and even Shiden and any other canary network, in that sense, but particularly Kusama? I think that it's in many ways undervalued in terms of its technological potential, and certainly its dev potential. What are your thoughts on this, gentleman?
Well, I mean, it's a canary network, so if it was overvalued, that would actually undermine Polkadot network, right?
Right.
So I feel like people are trying to be quite, careful with how they treat Kusama as well, because it has value. Although, to be fair, the only difference between Polkadot and Kusama is like, is it audited or not? And
well, can we talk about that though, Hoon? Because when I've talked to other Parity developers, they've said that it's not really that issue. It's that audits do get put in place, but they aren't as consistent, or they aren't as as the degree, I guess, or the brand. Perhaps, I'm not sure. But can you touch on that? Because from my understanding, there are audits done on Kusama.
Well, and from my knowledge of how the Polkadot's internal work goes is limited, but from my understanding, Kusama has less of a pipeline when it comes to deploying new features to the chain. So it's bleeding edge. Polkadot requires a lot more evaluation before they properly implement something.
I see.
So Kusama is like an excuse to go crazy with new features.
Yeah, and that's what we kind of like, because the devs loves that. It's the uncut diamond, and then you have that polished diamond. That's that core relay chain, the core Polkadot system as well. So it's great to know that you support Kusama as well, and you obviously support Shiden, and you support the whole system as well, and you're enabling DApps as well, which is even more important. And that, for those who are wondering, that's the Purple Thunder. Is that right, Sota?
Yep.
That's meaning Shiden is the Purple Thunder network?
Yeah, in Japanese, it's a Purple Thunder, because there are a lot of thunder-related names, Raiden Network or Thunder Core, etc. In the Plasma, So we need something new. That's why we chose
it made it very fun, I thought. It added it to the Japanese flavor with your influence, so it's great. Now, what about the UX UI? I saw when I was looking through the literature and even on the website, it looks really impressive, the plans, the way that people will be able to interact with all the different, I guess, systems you put in place to make this easy for development. That's the fundamental thing. So how's that going, guys? How's the testing going?
It is still under heavy development. Unfortunately, cannot really show too much functioning code yet, but the overall design is finished. And yeah, we're trying to create our own interactive portal for the end users, not limited to the developers, but also for just the end users to have a basic smart contract UI, just such as the ones that a lot of Ethereum UIs provide with contract APIs.
Yeah, I'm sure that you will be surprised.
Yeah, well, it looks really good, and I think it's known as the Plasm portal. Looking forward. So when do you think that on the roadmap we'll see more of that?
Well, we are planning on using that portal to allow users to fund our Shide network for the Kusama auction. So before the Kusama auction.
So that's not that long away either, I'm guessing. Okay, So I won't press because I can sense Hoon's reticence to go too far. Now, the Web3 grants, I want to ask you about that, because often when people are researching, they'll go to the Web3 grants and they'll try and assess what's coming. whether that be on Rococo, whether that be on the VC interest, all that kind of stuff. But you guys definitely have been involved in the Web3 grants for some time now, not just recipients, but also supporting it directly, and also with different other programs. Do you want to touch on that a little bit?
Yep, of course. First of all, receiving grant and delivering a grant are two different things. And the delivering a grant is much more difficult than receiving a grant. And we have received 6 grants from the Web3 Foundation, and Plasma and the Optimistic Virtual Machine, ECDSA for software, like Polkadot.js, and ECDSA for hardware wallet, and the Ink Playground, and also ZK Rollup. Yeah,
wow.
in total 6.
That's a lot.
And we have already delivered 3 or 4 grants to Web3 Foundation, and the 2 grants are under the review. So we actually deliver the product, not just receiving a grant. So I think this is a huge difference.
Okay, so what does it mean, guys, to have the backing of some key supporters who've invested in the future of your utility? That's what that's really about, especially in the sense that you're an advocate primarily for that distribution, for that fairness, but you still had to have that capital. So how's your runway going? Did you have to do that? Was that an injection in capital to keep building? Was that the reason?
Oh, yeah, actually, this is one of the reasons. But my strong reason is I would like to be a part of Web3 ecosystem, and I would like to lead this ecosystem as a just one of the Polkadot project. Yeah, that's why we propose the grant proposal and submit the grant proposal to Web3 Foundation. And this is our first motivation. Also, Web3 Foundation gave us dots. Yeah, and it was really cheap, and the dot is like a skyrocket right now. So
I'm very lucky.
runway is very good. So we are sustainable right now.
And that's what we want to hear. That's why I wanted to check. I noticed you didn't raise a lot. You didn't raise a lot of capital in that round as well. I would have been concerned if it was tens of millions, because you guys know that's just not necessary. And that gets a little bit greedy. And I'm worried that we're going to move back to that 2017 ICO boom. But it's good to see that was a very focused amount. It reflects what you stand for. But what about the value add for those parties? I really wanted to understand that. Is it just money they're going to offer? Or what other things in the hash key / Binance Labs / Packer / those what will they offer you?
Yeah, they know a lot of developers and the top project all over the world in the blockchain ecosystem. So they introduce a lot of great projects to us. Yeah, and we are building DApps hub. So we would like to support them to build the DApps on the top of Plasm Network. So they are really helpful for our ecosystem. And they also they have a lot of user, like Binance have a lot of user. So they can advertise PLM token to their user, which is really huge. So, and also regarding the Web3 Foundation, they also support us develop great product, and they give a lot of feedback and comments on the top of for Plasm Network.
That's fantastic. Now, Hoon, I wanted to ask you, this is a tough one, but considering that, as we alluded to before, sometimes in the blockchain, things can get quite tribal. How open has Ethereum been to all this innovation? They're definitely watching what you're doing. For example, the likes of Consensus, they really back with the tool suites. You see a lot of different technologies out there with the layer 2 solutions that we've mentioned before. So how open are they to conversations, to integrations, to partnerships? Because we've already seen Sota announce, and the whole Plasm team, different integrations prior, like the likes of Anchor, for example, and others, where API 3 for another one. But how open is that whole community to Plasm?
Well, we do have the team at Crypto Economics Lab, who are developing layer 2 UI for Plasm Network. And they have already developed a solution for Ethereum as well. So they are integrating their Ethereum solution and re-implementing that to fit the RPC, layer 2 RPC for Plasm Network. So in that terms, yes, we do receive some support from Ethereum, but I don't know. I I didn't receive any ether yet, so.
Well, like it's just great though that you are facilitating what they're doing indirectly or directly, and that's the reality with your technology. Now, gentlemen, I really want to talk about the token. And I know that this might make you move around a bit, Sota, because no one really likes to, but the reality is this is exciting, truly, because this is a utility token. These are the most important ones of all because they do something. They go far beyond just providing rewards, initially, or incentives to stake and act as securities. These do so much more. So let's explore this with the different features. Let's start with DApps staking, and we'll take it through from step by step because, there's so much involved here.
Yep. Thanks. So in terms of token, PLM token have 5, utilities. The first one is DApps staking, as you mentioned, and another one is network staking, like POS, proof of stake, and the gas transaction fee, and the on-chain governance, and the layer 2 application. And in terms of DApps staking, I think this is killer feature, the most basic and most important component on Plasm Network, because it's very easy to understand. By developing DApps on the top of Plasm Network, they can PLM. This make a huge difference, I think. And we are going to launch this feature really soon in coming weeks. So we would like to advertise our feature to the world. And also, by developing DApps.
Well, imagine what that could do, Sota. It's huge for your token.
Yeah, thanks so much. It's really helpful. And by the block rewards, the application's rewards will be decided by nomination, by voting. Okay. So they have an incentive to advertise their product on the top of Plasm Network to within Plasm Network community, or maybe outside of the community, because the application should be nominated by PLM holder.
And that's where the democracy is built into it through true governance models, built into more of that utility umbrella. And that's exciting too, because you're adding value. And let's go back a bit to that DApps staking for a minute. Hoon, I want to go to you, because if this is the core feature, above all things, we're incentivizing literally developers through the staking model of the token. Hoon, what will this do to the token? Let's be real. I mean, the Plasm token could go absolutely mental in terms of value.
Well, okay, so I can't talk too much about value, but
what you can.
One thing you can sort of assume is that because we are splitting the block rewards in half and allocating one to the validators and the other to the DApps rewards, the DApps rewards, just the token rewards, block validation rewards will be quite small compared to other blockchains, especially when we implement layer 2 solutions for transactions. Transaction fees will be very small, and of course, splitting that will be very minuscule as well. But that is why we want to become the smart contract hub, so that instead of having to, we understand that the rewards are small, and unless we tinker our inflation model, this will not change. But instead of doing that, we could increase the transaction volume. If everyone, especially with interoperability, if people has to go through our blockchain, they will have to pay the gas fees. And as long as the volume is high, it doesn't matter if the rewards is small, because there will be a constant income of rewards. And furthermore, Polkadot's shared consensus, they allow us to sort of mitigate those risks of having a small reward, because people validate blocks for rewards. But with Polkadot's really chain, it's a less burden.
And I think if you look in history, whether it be blockchain or otherwise, whether it be cryptography built in for incentivization or other, the rewards is what often dictates attention. And so a dev, when they hear the word reward, they're going to explore at the very least. So once again, your network effects are going to grow just on that basis alone, I would think. Now, Sota, I want to go back to you for a moment, because you mentioned that there are 5 key features to your token. That's just one. We also have the network staking, as you mentioned, the transactions, the governance, the layer 2. So in a summary, do you want to just touch on all of those different value sets so that people can see that this is a very complex token by design, but utility by nature?
Yeah, I think it's complicated, but every every feature matters, especially like a DApps staking. And also, you mentioned the three things, DApps staking, gas, and on-chain governance. And we have also layer two, deposit. To make a layer two application, PLM holder or developer have to deposit PLM token on the smart contract so that they can make the layer two application. And since they are making layer two application, there is constant transaction from layer two to layer one. And they have to pay small gas fee from that deposit. If deposit becomes zero, the layer two application will be removed. Yeah, and also, what else?
Well, we've also got, on top of that, there's governance referenced. I don't know if we touched on that, but that's implicit anyway.
Yeah, we are not implementing on-chain governance right now, but it should be, implemented in coming months. Since our mission is to make a DAO, on-chain governance is definitely necessary.
Yes, and that could add even more value to the token itself when we understand what governance has done for pre-existing models as well. But again, that very important word of utility, even from a compliance position, is very important. You being in Japan, me being in Australia, Hoon being in Korea, all that's going to matter to really showcase the kind of regulatory environment that's going to change and morph to the needs of this technology. And I love that because we really haven't seen the likes of this emerge yet internationally, and you're literally making history already. Now, again, I want to talk to you, Hoon, about the inflation model and the liquidity aspect, because that's also going to be factored into a good token model. So how has that been addressed for the long term?
Well, I mean, I know someone who's actually more fit to answer that question. Unfortunately, he's not here, so.
We could defer that, because that is a tough question. And if it's okay with Sota, I definitely want to have more conversations about Plasm for years to come anyway. But here's a fun one. Launch. When is this happening in terms of the official timing? I mean, it'd be tough for you to articulate now, putting you on the spot, but roughly, when is a lot of these things going to come together with regard to, forging ahead, showcasing the emergence of your token, for example?
Oh, you mean the timeline of our launch?
You being live with new features, you being live, the Parachain, obviously auctions coming up. There's so many things intertwined, but I feel like it's soon.
Yeah. First of all blockchain project delays.
Right.
Yeah, and we are going to deliver our Plasm Network portal, hopefully in weeks. And then we're going to be ready for the Kusama Parachain auction, potentially in March. And after that, we would like to, make a lot of DApps on the top of Kusama. And then Polkadot auction will be around June or probably July if everything goes well. But it will be decided by the Polkadot governance. So I do not know the specific date. The best way to know the timing is to follow Polkadot governance.
Got it. Now, Hoon, what about your thoughts on the market itself? I don't know if you pay attention. Most devs and most team members are so busy they have no time. But there's a lot of speculation right now that the market itself, the secondary market and the speculative market's moving so rapidly, it's almost, raising some eyebrows right across the space. Now, when you're talking about the point position of launching at different times, Sota's talking about projections all the way to June for different things. Do you ever take into consideration the nature of markets, the nature of, I guess, the confidence in the market itself to continue forward? Does it even matter to you?
Oh, that's a great question. Yes, of course, economic security is very important for any blockchain. And one of the risks I guess we could think of is how the price of DOT might affect all the other parachain tokens economics, because even if we have a solid inflation model, it would be sort of nullified if similar things happen with how Bitcoin prices affects other blockchain prices. So those would be our risk. But we believe that if the software is solid, if people can use it, and if it gets the job done, people will find value in the token because they require the token to use it themselves.
So in that sense, is it possible theoretically for a separation of correlation, like an uncorrelated circumstance where you see DOT being a core fuel for the ecosystem, for want of a better word, for the technological, grouping of all these different assets that come forth on the layering design. Could that be the core, that represents the value of everything else, as opposed to a lot of this constant interplay between, dare I say, BTC and altcoins, that narrative we hear too much?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question, because from what we see in the past, I would say yes, dots would be like the fuel for the value, but at the same time, we don't know, because we have a lot of interoperability, and interoperability in the sense that we can transfer tokens from one chain to another, which is it's not a simple Oracle problem. It's like more of a fundamental built-in feature of the blockchain itself. And unfortunately, with Polkadot network, the economic security of each blockchains are left to their own. Mm-hmm. So we don't know if other blockchains' price might be a point of risk or point of failure for our network. So those are questions that I feel like only time can tell. But for us,
so it's trial and error in that sense.
Yes. But for us, if you know the Lockdrop, it's just it's sort of a half ICO, half airdrop, where people deposit their Ether to a smart contract that is time locked and is returned exactly, minus the transaction fees, exactly back to the original locker. Mm-hmm. In other words, we, the team, do not receive any token from that token distribution. Therefore, the token value is totally up to the people who own it.
And what's exciting too is that they were filled so fast. They were very hyped as well by the right communities, because people were still scratching their head when they completed with those lock drops, wondering what happened now when we look back. But today, the hype for Plasm is real. So what do you anticipate once things do move out in that, like that token becomes live? Do you worry that sometimes the FOMO will set in and that the pace of the token will outpace and outstrip the logical sense of the innovation that's happening? Because we see that across the board.
Yes.
And how do you grapple with that?
There's definitely going to be a pump and dump at some point in some network that will affect our network indirectly or directly. That's something that we cannot really control. But one way we can prepare is, as I said, for as long as the smart contract technology itself it works and people can create a scalable DApps within our platform, and we as a team can provide great experience and great support for the community, even if the token itself has some damage, we can still create great products and services from our project.
Right, and that's what sets you apart, wouldn't you say, Sota? I want to let you talk as well, because two things that set you apart is the scalable DApps and that interoperable smart contract platform. Those two things combined, that's fire when it comes to nothing else is like that. So in 5 years' time, 10 years' time, that conversation with the token is going to be very different in reality because of those reasons. So it sounds like you guys are just long-term confident. It doesn't sound like you're worried about the fluctuations in speculation at all, and you're expecting those troughs and those ebbs and flows anyway.
Yeah, one thing I'm sure is I'm sure that we have a long-term confidence. So probably people sell PLM token, people will buy a PLM token. I don't know, but we are doing right things, I believe.
Yeah, I think so too. Now, with the GitHub, gentlemen, I noticed that you're 100% open source. Correct me if I'm wrong. And in that sense, there's transparency right across the board. If I want to go and engage as a dev right now, what's the state of your GitHub? How robust are the repositories? How interactive? How open? How much is it growing?
Well, it is completely open source, including working code, which is embarrassing always. You can just go to our Plasm Network GitHub page or GitHub account, and you can see all the projects, our UI, our node, Plasm node, every other projects. The only thing that's closed source is our projects that are directly related to our company, Stake Technologies, since those have like a client relationship. So those have to be kept in private repositories. But yes, we are very open to contributions. And if you want to interact with developers, we have a Discord server. We're also open Telegram. And there's a lot of channels to contact us.
Yes, and I'll put all the links below to make sure people can interact in any way, to make sure, especially with Discords and anywhere where both you gentlemen and others are from the team are interacting regularly. But Sota, I also wanted to ask you about integrations as opposed to partnerships, because in crypto, we see a lot of partnerships, a lot of, financially beneficial connections just for PR.
Right.
Now, I really want to touch on this because I saw a few of yours, like, for example, Paralink, and I just want to get real with you. How real and integrated are these things that come, like we mentioned some of them before with Anchor and API 3? Because I wondered, are some of the VCs getting in your ear? And are they saying, look, can we do a partnership? What's really going on?
Some of the project has already integrated their service on Plasm Network, such as like Anchor, like a Chainlink and the Akara, and so on. But some of them did not. So I talked with Akara team last week, and I personally decided we only, announced partnership or like a collaboration once we make demo or MVP.
Good.
We are not like a marketing company. We are like a technology company. So we should announce something like an announcement, the partnership, after making something works.
Right. And I really appreciate that, because I think a lot of people, to be fair, some of the things that have come up in through Twitter have shocked us a little bit. And so when we get the chance to hear it from you, we know that you're going back to that original, okay, it's the demo, it's the proof, it's the empirical evidence that this is a really meaningful integration or true partnership, and great examples with Akala. They've always been supportive. Now, as we said, if you'd like to get involved, if you'd like to learn more about what is essentially a game changer, making history right now, this is about interoperability. It's about smart contracts that do set themselves apart with proven scalability technology built in right at the bedrock. That is Plasm Network. They could be one of these ones that change the game for years to come. And I will never forget this interview, I don't think. It's one that my children perhaps will look back and say, hey, you were also part of history because you had this conversation. So thank you, gentlemen, for allowing the time and the explanation of all this complex tech. And I can't wait to catch up in a few months, if you'll allow me, to learn more about what Plasm's doing, especially when you become live, when you start to move towards that token launch, and more importantly, the roadmap beyond that with the real DApps that are coming on with the network. So thank you again, guys. If there's anything you'd like to say, either of you, for a final comment, please do so. And once again, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. And sorry, Sota. So I guess I'll have say one comment. Our secret behind our confidence in the future. See, so it's
I love it.
Prices, economics, those are just so complicated. I'm okay. I did major in management, but still I don't like economics. The secret is, just imagine a product or a software or a tool in blockchain, and imagine what you need to do to make it, and we are just making that in Plasm Network. So we don't really care what the
now you're bragging. Now you're bragging. So you're not saying a tool, guys. What Hoon is saying is the tool. That's what he's alluding to. It's the tool. It's a universal tool. It's applicable across blockchains. It's the glue, even though right now the bedrock is Polkadot, and then we're talking about all those different flow and effects with Kusama, with Shiden. There's so much more going on, but it's that point. It's the one to watch right now in terms of what it can mean for Web3. So sort of your chance, mate, take it away. What would you like to say to everyone about Plasm? Shill away. I mean, it's damn good tech, so why not?
Yeah, so we have done a lot of things so far. Like we got 6 grants from the Web3 Foundation, and they already delivered some of them. And also we became the first local parachain. And they also, deployed the first smart contract on the top of Polkadot Parachain. But this is just the beginning. So we have to do a lot more things in the future, in the weeks, in the months. And we would like to make the history of the Web 3.0. So we just started. And we are always looking for talented engineer and the talented community member. So if you are interested, feel free to contact me. And the Plasm Network is community-driven project, which aims to make DAO. So if you are interested, feel free to join our Discord, Telegram, or GitHub. It would be great if you could contribute to Plasm Network.
Got it. Okay, so what it's sort of saying is contact me for Web3. Make this happen if you're passionate about this. If you want to be part of history, definitely make sure you check the links below. Reach out to those social channels, because right now, quite literally, there's exciting stuff happening in the Polkadot ecosystem right across the blockchain, and most importantly about those smart contract innovations to make DApps more accelerated, make them possible to be incentivized. Those DApp rewards are the game changer as well, not just those crazy gas fees, but something more. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. I hope this has been a very valuable interview for everyone. It's free. I don't own any of these tokens. There's no other untoward reason but education. And the gentlemen here allow us the key access. So thank you again.
Thank you so much for having us.